Welcome to Code with Kurt, the channel that brings you the latest Google Sheets and Google Apps Script videos. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the doGet function. And doGet function is the key function of getting your web app started. It's the one that generates and opens up your HTML file. And I'm going to go through 3 examples here of how to use the doGet. And this is going to start 3 web apps here with 3 different examples. And I'm also going to talk about one of the examples, or 2 of the examples, of templated HTML, and this is where you can put tags within your HTML code like this, an example, to output Google Apps Script. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of that, but mostly these examples will be incorporated with the doGet function. So if you're new to this channel, subscribe to catch my latest videos. Let's get started with this video. So now I'm on my Google Drive. I'm going to start up a new Google Apps Script file. So I'm going to go to My Drive, go to More, and go to Google Apps Script. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give my project a name. doGet Web Apps. Hit OK. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy in my Google Apps Script code to 3 examples I'm going to show in this video. So now that I got it copied, I'm going to hit Save. And here I have 3 functions. 2 of them are commented out because we're going to start with the first one and go through this one. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 different HTML files to kind of go with these 3 examples. So I'm going to go up here and File, HTML file. First one I'm going to call is example file 1. Same name as this up here. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go back, I'm going to create a new one. Example file 2. I'm going to do one more. Example file 3. I'm going to hit OK. Now I have my 3 HTML, my 3 examples. Now for the first one, I'm going to copy in the code for each 3 of these HTML for my examples here. So there's my first example. I'm going to hit Save. I'm going to go to my second file. I'm going to copy the code in here. So now I have that copied. I'm going to hit Save. Go to my file 3. I'm going to copy the code in for this one. So now I have the third one copied in. I'm going to hit Save. Now I'm going to go back to my Google Apps Script code, and I'm going to go ahead and start explaining my first example here. So here I have a doGet function, and I have 2 log statements. I got one that's going to bring back all the array or object of the object E coming back in when I first open up my web app. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to pass the message, a parameter of message, using the get URL parameters. I'm going to pass a message into this function, and then I'm going to call up my HTML file, example file 1, using this create HTML output from file. So this is a very simple example here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Publish. I'm going to hit Deploy as a web app. I'm going to hit New. I'm going to do Execute as me and only myself. I'm going to hit Deploy. So now I have it. Take this, I'm going to hit Control-C, I'm going to go up here, start a new tab, and I'm going to copy that in. So there's my example file 1 here. Now that I got started, next thing I can do is I'm going to pass my message in. So I'm going to do a question mark to kind of start my parameters. I'm going to hit message equals test. And I'm going to hit that. Enter. I still see the same thing here, but I'm going to show you how this parameter test gets passed into this doGet function. So I'm going to go back to my Google Apps Script. I'm going to hit OK here. Now, I got my logger here, logger here, log, and I'm going to be looking for this. So I'm going to go to my View Logs. I'm going to hit my app script dashboard here. So I'm going to go up to here. These are the 2 times I ran it. First I opened it up for the first time, and the second one I added a message parameter to that. So I'm going to open that up. So here's where my E object comes back. So if you look at my logger here, exit out of this. This is my first thing that I logged in, and this is my second one. So my message is the parameter within my E object that's carrying test. So I'm going to go back to my executions, and here's my E, and within this I got the parameter message test, and then my second log is test. So that's how I passed it in when I initially called the URL. So this works well if you have say a website, like a different type of website from a different web server, and you want to call a web app, a Google App Script web app from an external website, and you want to pass something to it. Say you want to store something to a Google Sheet, so you can pass that parameter all the way to your Google Sheet, and then within this function you can call something here to add a record to a Google Sheet. And I do have examples from my other videos of how to add records to Google Sheets. So that is just one way to use the doGet by passing in different parameters. So next I'm going to move to my second example. So I'm going to close that one out. I'm going to comment this one out by toggle comment. I'm going to do this next example. So I should have showed you the HTML file in my first example. So all I had was this. This is just the basic setup. And I had the header of example file 1. And that's what you saw when I opened it up. Just something to view here. So that was a simple setup for my example file 1. And that's what it called right here. So next I'm going to move the example file 2. I'm going to uncomment this. So in this example, I'm going to take in my message that I put in. So last time it was test, but I'm also going to push it out to my screen this time. So last time I just took it in, didn't really do anything with it, just showing you how you can take it in. This one I'm going to take it in and then push it back out to my screen. So with this I'm going to use templated HTML. So I got this tag here with my message variable here. So I got 2 things. I got my message that's going to come in, and I got my header tags here of example file 2. So let's go ahead and run this one. So I'm going to publish again, deploy as web app. Now in this example, if I hit update here, it's just going to show me my first doGet here. So what I have to do is I got to version it. So I got to hit new, type in new here, hit update. Now I got a new URL here. So I'm going to copy and paste this, take it up here to a new thing, paste it in. So now I got my example file 2. I'm going to add a parameter in here. Message equals test this. I'm going to hit enter, and now it comes out to my screen here where it says test this. And again, we can follow this on our logging here. So sometimes it takes a little bit to refresh here. Oh, it's up here now, so I'll go in here. So again, here's what came in, my 2 log statements. One's for the E object and one's for the message that came in. So I can track that here with these 2 statements. The difference is I'm doing example file 2. I'm using a create template from file, and that's different from this create HTML output from file. You have to use this template function here to be able to do the tagging out here. If you don't use that, it won't recognize these tags. So then here I'm passing in message out to my screen. So I'm setting this variable a message, and I'm assigning it to this, which is the same thing I am outputting to my log, and now I'm evaluating it. So this renders this file, and now I see my message come out. So that is an example how you can bring something in and then take it back out to your screen. So then the third example, I'm going to go ahead and comment this out and then show my last example, which is two functions put together here. So another doGet, and I'm outputting my E object. And here I'm doing a create from template from file, and example of file 3 is I'm doing a form here. So I'm going to take in a username, and I got my form set up as a get, and then I'm going to have a submit button, and then when I submit it, it's going to take that name and post it on my screen after I submit it. So with what I'm doing within this, I hit save there. What I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, so if I have a parameter of username coming in, if I don't have a parameter of username coming in, I have the exclamation point, that means not, then I'm going to set the username to nothing. But else, so if I do, then I'm going to say username is, and that name that's coming in, and I'm going to pass that out to the screen. And then I'm also getting another variable of URL. So this is the get URL function down here. And what this is doing is it's getting, when my web app comes up, I got a URL on the top with an ID in it. And this is basically getting that URL, that HTTP and all the other stuff all the way through. I could bring up this example here. It's getting all this information here. So I can set that in my form URL. So when I submit my form, it knows what action to go to. So it's going to like redo my screen. It's going to recall that URL. So that's what that function does. So then it's returning. So that's what this function does. It just gets that URL of my web app. So now I'm passing the URL and the username. I'm evaluating it. And that's when that comes in, my URL falls here, and then my username gets posted if I put a username in here. So again, let's go ahead and publish that. I'm going to version it again, hit new. I'm going to hit update, copy my URL here, if I can get it. Not let me get it too easy. There we go. Copy. I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to open up a new one. Paste that in. So now I got my example file 3. I'm going to type in a name. I'm going to hit submit. Now it says username is Steve Smith, and as you can see here, when I submitted that, it actually passed that parameter up here. I didn't have to type it in. It said username Steve Smith, and it also passed the parameter of my submit button of submit. So we'll go back over here. I could check my post log here. Comes up. So here's my output. I'm only doing the E out on this one here. But you can see within this that if I go to this parameter here, is the one I'm looking at. My username is Steve Smith and the submit is submit. So again, if I go to my example 3, anything with a name here on a form is going to do a get, which is going to post my parameters up here. So I got my name of username and my name of submit, and that's why the values come back out on that and they show up here. So the form thing, if you're not familiar with HTML, that is pretty standard functionality of a form with a submit button. on a get method. Now there is a post method too, but in particular I just want to talk about the get method here. So when we did our form and our get, it posts these parameters up here. That way you can use these parameters when you're screen refresh to post them out. And that's what I did with this HTML file by posting out the username here. So that concludes this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it below the video. Until next time.